The quail, a bird about 10 inches or 25 centimetres long, is a game bird in the same family as the pheasant. Quails live in open fields and pastures. They have plump bodies and small heads and short tails. Quails are discussed in the Bible story about the children of Israel in the desert. God sent quails when his people wanted meat to eat. Quails make a whistling call that sounds like bob white, bob white, and that is why quails are sometimes called bob whites.
Quail reads k, k, k. Q reads k, k, k.
I'll never quit, said Quentin the quail. Quick, quiet, Quentin sits on a rail.
Quentin Quail was so kind-hearted, he could not see someone in trouble without quickly trying to help. He could not hear someone crying without feeling quite sad. Quentin Quail is so helpful, everyone said. Mothers told their children, "Watch Quentin Quail. See how kind he is. Quentin Quail just won't quit." Everyone loved Quentin Quail. When anyone was in trouble, it was on Quentin Quail they called. Quentin Quail wouldn't quit until he had found a way to help. Quentin Quail never said, "I won't help," or "I don't know how." He would figure out some way to help. Everyone could count on Quentin Quail not to quit. One day someone said, "Quentin Quail, we want to do something for you." "Yes," someone else said, "we never get to help you. Let us do something for you." Quentin Quail laughed quietly. "Well, thank you, but I don't know of anything I need. I'm quite all right." Everyone watched and waited, but they never could find a chance to do something for Quentin Quail. One day there was something they could all do for Quentin Quail, and they would always remember that day. Here is what happened. Quentin Quail was walking along the lane and one day looking for some nice juicy seeds to eat. He saw a tree that had fallen. Just under the fallen tree were some of the best looking yellow seeds Quentin Quail had ever seen. Oh, they looked juicy and nice. Quentin Quail pushed his head through the branches and tasted one. They tasted as good as they looked. How nice that Quentin Quail had found such good food. Quentin Quail kept eating and eating and eating, and soon he had eaten most of the beautiful yellow seeds. Quentin Quail decided to leave, but when he started to pull his head out, it was stuck fast. Quentin Quail had eaten seeds until his neck was too fat to come out between the branches. Quentin Quail was stuck fast. Quentin Quail was in trouble. Quentin Quail needed help, but there was no one in sight. Quentin Quail fluttered his wings, but it didn't help. Quentin Quail twitched his tail, but his neck would not budge. Quentin Quail scratched his feet, but his head stayed right where it was, caught in the branches of the fallen tree. Maybe you would have given up if you had been in that situation, but remember that Quentin Quail wouldn't quit, so you might have guessed that he would think of something to do. "Help! Help!" cried Quentin Quail, but no one heard him. "Help! I need your help!" said Quentin Quail, but no one heard. Then Quentin Quail had a thought. Something unusual would get attention. Quentin Quail would quack like a duck. That would be such a strange sound, someone would surely come quickly to help him. After all, can you imagine a quail quacking? So Quentin Quail quacked at the top of his quail voice. Quack, 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 quack. Down in the grass, a little ant heard Quentin Quail. Quack, quack? What sort of a queer quack, quack was that? Something must be wrong, so he quickly ran for help. Away ran Ant until he found Ladybug. "Come quickly and hear the queer quack, quack sound coming from under the fallen tree." Together they ran halfway back to where Quentin Quail was quack, quack, quacking. "Oh, I've never heard a queer quack, quack quite like that before. Let's go tell someone bigger." Away they ran until they found Butterfly. "Come quickly and hear the queer quack, quack coming from under the fallen tree." Together they ran and flitted halfway back to where Quentin Quail was quack, quack, quacking. "Oh, I never heard a queer quack, quack quite like that before. Let's go tell someone bigger." Away they ran until they found Hummingbird. "Come quickly and hear the queer quack, quack coming from under the fallen tree." Together they ran, flitted and flapped halfway back to where Quentin Quail was quack, quack, quacking. "Oh, I have never heard a queer quack, quack quite like that before. Let's go tell someone bigger." And away they ran, flitted and flapped until they found Blue Jay. "Come quickly and hear the queer quack, quack, quacking coming from under the fallen tree." Together they ran, flitted, flapped and flew halfway back to where Quentin Quail was quack, quack, quacking. Blue Jay went closer to the strangest quivering quack, quack he'd ever heard. He looked under the fallen tree and found Quentin Quail hardly able to quack one more quack, quack. "Come quickly, Quentin Quail needs our help." Quentin Quail could hardly breathe, but he hadn't quit. Quickly they pulled and tugged and hauled, and soon Quentin Quail lay limp on the grass, gasping for breath. "My, but I'm glad you didn't quit quacking, Quentin Quail," said Ant. "I'm glad you didn't quit quacking, Quentin Quail," said Ladybug. "I'm glad you didn't quit quacking, Quentin Quail," said Butterfly. "And I'm glad you didn't quit quacking, Quentin Quail," said Hummingbird. "I'm glad you didn't quit quacking, Quentin Quail," said Blue Jay. "I'm glad too," said Quentin Quail. "I'm glad I didn't quit." On whom did the animals call when they needed help? That's right, Quentin Quail. What was it that Quentin Quail never did? Quentin Quail never quit. How did Quentin Quail get into trouble? He got his head stuck under a tree trying to eat some juicy seeds, didn't he? How did Quentin Quail get others to notice he needed help? He tried yelling, didn't he? But that didn't work. Instead, he quacked like a duck. Quack, 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 quack. Who heard Quentin Quail first? Ant helped him, didn't he? Heard him, didn't he? How many friends came to help Quentin Quail? Did you count 5? Ant, Ladybug, Butterfly, Hummingbird and Blue Jay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who was not afraid to go all the way to the quack quack sound? Yes, it was Blue Jay. He went and he found Quentin Quail. What has Quentin Quail helped us to learn? Hopefully you've learned never to give up. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4:2. Sometimes we feel people are not treating us right. We may think we should have some reward that others get. We must remember that God will give us what we ought to have. He will make things turn out right for us. Samuel was a prophet of God. God told Samuel that he had chosen a new king to replace Saul. King Saul had disobeyed God, and God would no longer bless him. God told Samuel to go to a man named Jesse and offer a sacrifice. Jesse had several sons, and God wanted Samuel to anoint one of the sons to be the next king. Samuel was frightened that Saul would find out about this. Samuel feared Saul would be angry over someone else being chosen king, even if the new king was God's choice. Even though Samuel was afraid of Saul, he still obeyed God and went to Jesse's house. When Samuel met Jesse's sons, he was eager to see which would be the new king. First came Eliab, a fine-looking young man. Surely this is Lord's anointed, Samuel thought. The Lord told Samuel, No, this is not the one. Man looketh on the outward appearance, but God looketh on the heart. Jesse's next son, Abinadab, came, but God said, No, not this one. 7 of Jesse's sons passed before Samuel, but not one of them was the one God had chosen. Samuel said to Jesse, No, the Lord has not chosen any of these. Haven't you any other children? Well, my youngest boy, David, isn't here. He's keeping the sheep, Jesse told Samuel. Samuel said, Send and fetch him. He would not begin the service of sacrifice until David had arrived. In came young David. God spoke to Samuel, This is the one. Anoint this one as king. Samuel must have thought in wonder, But he's young. Still, Samuel obeyed God. He appointed young David as king, and from that day forth the Spirit of the Lord was with David. Now that David had been anointed to be king, do you think he went to the palace the next day and began ruling the country? No, Saul was still king. David had to wait until God set the exact time for David to be king. Saul was far from the Lord and unhappy and angry. Someone at the court said to him, King, you need to find someone who plays a harp well. Then when you are feeling angry, you can have beautiful music to make you feel better. King Saul thought that was a good idea. Someone said, I know whom we should get. I've seen David, a son of Jesse. He is a good harp player, but he is also wise and a brave fighter. Best of all, the Lord is with him. King Saul sent a messenger to Jesse. Send me your son David, who is keeping the sheep. When David came, he played the harp. The music soothed Saul in his bad moods. Sometimes David even carried the king's armor. We do not know exactly how long David stayed with Saul at this time. We do know that when David's 3 older brothers were in the army, that David was home again caring for the sheep. You know the story of how David went to see his brothers and fought the giant Goliath. After this, King Saul wanted David to stay with him again. Saul's son Jonathan became a good friend to David. David became the king's assistant. Wherever Saul went, David went. David always obeyed and behaved wisely. All the soldiers and all the people came to know and love David. When the people sang songs bragging on David, King Saul became jealous. Did he know that God wanted David to be king someday? King Saul watched David carefully to see if he did anything wrong. When the king was in a bad mood, he still wanted David to play the harp for him. On 2 occasions, King Saul became so angry at David as David played the harp that King Saul threw his spear trying to kill David. David dodged and the spear missed him, but David still behaved himself wisely in all his ways because the Lord was with him. This made Saul even more afraid. Saul knew David would make a good king because David was wise and all the people loved David. Saul sent David out with the army again, hoping David would be killed in a battle. Again, Saul tried to kill David. He sent messengers to take David, but David's wife let David down through a window so that he could escape. David's wife put a pillow covered with a cloth in David's bed so to fool the messengers. This saved David's life. When David escaped, he went to stay with Samuel. King Saul still wanted to be king. Saul followed David, hoping to kill him. David must have wondered why all this was happening. Why had God chosen him to be king and then allowed all this to happen? Did God really care about him? Yes, God cared about David, and when it was the right time, David was made king. God wanted David to be faithful and patient until the right time came. 1 Samuel 16-20 and 2 Samuel verse 2. Character objective, faithful. To be true to a person or to God. God often waits to give us the things we want. He wants us to be true to a person to whom we are bound to by a promise, a pledge, honour or love. We must keep on doing right even if we do not get the reward we think we should have. Let's never forget that God will make things turn out right if we are faithful to do what we ought to do. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. Let's say it together. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2. One more time together. It is required that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 2.
Listen as I tell you a word. Can you hear the qua sound? Queen. Does queen have the qua sound? Yes, queen has the qua sound. Can you hear the qua sound in done? No, done doesn't have the qua sound. Quiet. Can you hear the qua sound in quiet? Yes, quiet has the qua sound. Quote. Can you hear the qua sound in quote? Yes, quote has the qua sound. Stall. Can you hear the qua sound in stall? No, stall doesn't have the qua sound. Nest. Can you hear the qua sound in nest? No, nest doesn't have the qua sound. Quit. Can you hear the qua sound in quit? Yes, quit has the qua sound. Oats. Can you hear the qua sound in oats? No, oats doesn't have the qua sound. Request. Can you hear the qua sound in request? Yes, request has the qua sound. Quiver. Can you hear the qua sound in quiver? Yes, quiver has the qua sound. Listen as I read a sentence. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? A queen wears a crown. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? A queen wears a crown. That's right. Queen has the qua sound. Please be quiet in the learning center. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? Please be quiet in the learning center. That's right. Quiet has the qua sound. Always try again. Never quit. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? Always try again. Never quit. That's right. Quit has the qua sound. Go quickly when mother calls. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? Go quickly when mother calls. That's right. Quickly has the qua sound. A quilt is warm. Can you find the word that has the qua sound? That's right. Quilt has the qua sound. Whenever we see the letter Q, we also see the letter U. Q and U are partners. They are always together. Whenever you see a Q, you should know that it will be followed by a U. Together they say qua. Let's blend these sounds. Qua, a, quay, qua, a, qua, qua, a, qua, qua, e, qui, qua, que, qua, I, quai, qua, que, qua, quo, qua, qua. Let's blend these sounds into words. Qua, a, k, qua, a, k, quake, quake, qua, quail, 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 quaint, 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 quack, 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 quain, quain, queen, queen, quail, quail, quell, quell, quite, 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 quit, 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 quip, 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 quail, quail, quill, quilt, 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 quick, 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 quote, 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 quote.
Quail reads k, k, k. Q reads